Hello everyone, we are Manuela and Dayhana. Today we are going to talk a little bit about Colombian and Spanish as a second language. So buckle up, here we go. Colombia is a country located in the northwestern region of South America. It is a politically organized republic in 32 decentralized departments and the capital district of Bogota. This is the only country in the subcontinent with coasts on the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. According to the Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development, Colombia has more than 1,500 registered species. Our country ranks the second worldwide in biodiversity. Colombia ranks first in species of birds and orchids. It is the second country in the world with the greatest rate of plants, amphibians, butterflies, and freshwater fish. Colombia is a country that is characterized not only by its natural diversity, but also by its natural resources, geography, multiculturalism, and multiraciality. This country is the result of the union of cultures at the time of the conquest, so the traditions in the regions are represented in many dialects, dances, colors, sounds, and flavors. Consequently, before 1942, the first indigenous people who lived in the territory were forced to learn Spanish, Castilian by then, and adopt it as a part of their lifestyle. All the previous facts show how amazing Colombian is, or should we say, Colombia is. But we analyze if there is viable to learn the second language there as well, so we have come up with the question. Is Colombia a good place to learn Spanish as a second language? According to the experts in linguistics and the Royal Academy of Language itself, they assure that the Colombian accent is one of the easiest to learn Spanish, and therefore that is considered one of the countries where this language is best spoken. Supporting the previous ideas, Colombia is a more likely country to be visited by foreigners. So, there are tourist places around the country like Western Andes, La Ruta del Café, La Piedra del Peñol, the Caribbean region, San Andrés, La Ciudad Colonial, and Volcán del Totumo, the Pacific region, Parque Nacional Tayrona, and Costeño Beach, Western Andes, Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, and Lago de Gota, Amazonía Orinoquía, Caño Cristales, the Colombian Macizo, Villa de Leyva. Also, there are holidays and celebrations around the country that lure a lot of tourists like the Barranquillas Carnival, the Cali's Festival, the Flowers Fair, the Book Fair. In this case, we are going to focus on the book fair as a touristic place where we did some research about the topic. This is a cultural place where you can find lectures, talks, workshops, and tons of books from different genres. Many of them reflect Colombian culture through history and literature. Besides, the place Jardín Botánico is surrounded by a lot of nature, and you can also admire the flora and fauna. You can find bears, dogs, iguanas, turtles, butterflies, and beautiful green sounds. Everything you see, hear, smell, and taste enriches the whole experience.
And it's because it's art. This is a place where you can find artists, writers, designers who express themselves through books. And this is something that the tourists want to know about us, how we create and how we express our story and our life through art.
Also here it's very nice if you can speak Spanish because
Nobody speaks English.
and we think we miss a lot of interaction with the people because we can't really communicate with them, and it's always nice to hear like some stories from locals and some tips, but sometimes the language barrier is too big. So yeah.
Okay, and do you think that the culture that you have experienced so far here, how influenced that in the language?
Yeah, it's what she said. If we spoke Spanish, we would have seen a lot of more of the culture and stories of the locals.
Yeah, a lot more
so we miss a
information.
lot. Yeah, that's. I'm sure we miss a lot. Yeah.
For example, what's the main difference that you have noticed here and your country?
From the language.
Comparing your
culture.
culture,
The culture,
with,
okay.
with your own culture.
Okay. think it's much more open here to speak with people that you don't know and like foster you're more like more heart opening like in the first moment, and we are like more
Or for yourself.
yeah
Okay.
more introvert like, and in Colombia it's like more extrovert. Yeah.
Right. What have you learned? Have you learned some Spanish so far here?
Yes, a
Some
little
words.
bit,
Like
yeah.
what can you give us
Like
examples?
like the greeting is always like buenos días, ¿cómo están? Or ¿cómo estás? And like how are you? So we don't say that, we just say hello in our language, and we don't ask how are you.
You know that reflects the culture. You know, you
Yeah.
just said that we
Yeah.
are more open-minded, like kind of, and you're more introverted.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
So, okay. So,
I did an exchange in Mexico for like 5 months, and there I learned some Spanish, and I took some classes in the Netherlands.
okay. What do you think about the accent or the dialect between Mexican and Colombian?
Yeah, for me, it's very different actually. In Medellin, I really like it. It's a little bit more like singy, and to me, it's more comparable to how Italians speak a little bit. But I don't know.
Nice.
I've just been here for 2 days. So.
Right. What have you learned about Spanish here that is different from the Mexican one, maybe?
Well, in Mexico, they use a lot of slang. Like they say no mami's way and things like this. And here probably they do as well, but I didn't notice it so much. And yeah, the pronunciation.
We've looked on the bright side of the country, but not everything is rainbows and unicorns. We also want to expose the other side of the coin. So nevertheless, there are some stereotypes that we need to talk about. There are some popular beliefs about Colombia. One of the most known stereotypes is smuggling drugs everywhere, guns and violence. This has been boosted and supported by TV programs, narconovelas, and the news. So it's not strange at all that the first people's impression, speaking of Colombia, is immediately related to the previous stereotypes when El Patrón del Mal or Narcos are the first ranked on Netflix. That's the fame that we have created and still encourage even between tourists by promoting those souvenirs or merchandising with Pablo Escobar apology. 200 years of violence are part of our history. However, it's also up to us to start making things change. For instance, Medellin is no longer an urban zone. It went from the world's murder capital to the world's most innovative city. Insecurity is also an issue. According to the survey's results made by Pulso Social DANE, 53.1% of Colombians feel unsafe, 36.8% are very unsafe, 16.3% walking alone in their neighborhoods at night, 23.6% report that they prefer not to go out alone at night due to insecurity. It should be noted that measurement was made between March 8th and April 7, 2022. If it is that way with the locals, don't even get us started on the tourists because sadly but true, they are seen as big shots and people usually take advantage of the fact that tourists are foreigners that are naive and not related with the city. Plus, they might have money, at least that is the mindset of thieves and ill-disposed people. So remember, don't give papaya. Don't make things so easy for them. And watch out for the belongings, because late papaya, split papaya. Talking about slangs and idioms. There are a lot of signifiers to one signified. For example, in Spanish, to say drink, the main translation is beber, but you also can say tomar, but be careful and don't get confused with the word tomar as take, which is correct but means another thing and refers to another verb. In English, you can take time, but you definitely can't take water. However, in Spanish, you can tomar agua and also tomar tiempo. That's right, one word, two meanings. There are more though, but for the sake of your mental health, we won't keep going. By the way, don't get surprised if you hear the word bogar as beber or tomar, something drinkable. If someone tells you bóguese eso, That means that you have to drink that as fast as you can. A more closer translation to that expression would be chong. Then you might hear tomar en cuenta, which is take into account. Tomar partido, which means take sides. Tomar la delantera, get ahead of. Tomar a pecho, take it to heart. Tomar el pelo, pull someone's leg. Tomárselo con calma, take it easy. Debes tomar en cuenta que para tomar la delantera es importante tomar partido y no tomarse las cosas a pecho, porque siendo así te podrían terminar tomando el pelo. Entonces es mejor tomar agua y todo a su tiempo para realmente tomarse las cosas con calma. Taking into account all the info that we already provided you, among facts, examples, concepts, statistics, stereotypes, pros and cons, we've drawn to our conclusion. Learning Spanish is not just learning a language, but also how to use it in a social dynamic context. With that, knowing the culture, the customs, and the people who determine the essence of the country and the language. Learning by immersion, surrounded by the culture to really understand and interpret the language, because a second language requires a new mindset. Language is a reflection of the culture in every aspect: nature, diversity, food, music, slang, idioms, and traditions. Learn, love, and live the language. And you, what are you waiting to learn Spanish in Colombia? Or not?